Welcome to Melty Talks.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this fabulous Saturday. We are recording a little late, but it is fine. We will just get this recording done. We are joined by the infamous Marik Ishtar, voice actor, Mr. Jonathan Todd Ross. How are you?
How's it going? I'm very happy to be here. How you doing tonight?
I've been watching all three dogs all day today and cleaning up poop and pee everywhere I go.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
We have the one dog and the two kids. They're older, but they're still poop and pee. There's still plenty of that to go around here.
Oh yeah, I have one big dog. She's 7 months old, and she's about as tall as I am. And
Mhm.
then I have no, my big dog is a year old. My bad.
Mhm.
And then my other two dogs are like 2 to 3 months old, and they're going to be bigger than her.
Oh, what? So like real new dog owner.
Yes,
Like
yes.
all a new. That's a lot of dogs.
And I had to repair my wall over there with some plaster because they chewed they chewed my wall
Oh
out.
no. Yeah,
uh,
we're relatively new dog owners ourselves. We got our awesome little Cavapoo. We got her about a year and a half ago, and it's great. It's
okay.
my first dog. It's my wife's first dog. Obviously, our kid's first dog, and I love it. It's awesome. I love it now. It was very hard at the beginning.
Yeah, the puppy stages have to be the hardest, like getting the puppy pads down right, and then
Yeah, and being like,
having
what have
them.
I done? Like,
What a,
and my kids were just old enough that like I was starting to be able to like sleep more in the mornings, and then the dog
mm.
was like, get up, take me out,
See,
but it's
for
all
my
good.
big dog, we have her in like a big cage, and we have the other two dogs in a little smaller cage. The two when it's morning time, they'll be quiet as long as you're in the bed, but as soon
Mhm.
as they hear you get out of the bed,
Yeah,
it's
no, yeah.
constantly.
They're like, okay, it's time.
It is time to get up.
Let's
Let me
let's
out.
go do this.
But my big dog, she'll just sit there and they'll let me out eventually.
Good. That's good.
She doesn't care. So let's get into the bread and butter, man. Like I said before we started recording, I'm a big fan of you. Um, I didn't know that you did audiobooks. And for those that don't know, you've done almost what, 300, over
I'm
300
I
audiobooks?
am I am actually have recently crossed over the different names I use. I've crossed over 500 pretty
Ooh,
recently. Which is awesome. I love it. And honestly, most of those were in the last, I would say, 5 years. Um,
okay.
I did about like 200, and then over like a decade, and then in the last 5 years, uh, uh, things got really busy with audiobooks. I sort of made that my central focus, and just there's been a ton. It was awesome.
That is
Hello, Mr. Goatman, sir.
everyone that's listening on Spotify, because this will be uploaded to YouTube, the video version of it all. But for those listening on Spotify, our buddy Frankensauce has just joined the podcast with us today. Welcome in, Mr. Frank.
Hello, I'm the man of stupid voices.
Hello, wonderful.
So yeah, you've done audiobooks, and you were also the voice of forgot his name, but you voice for One Piece for 4 Kids when they.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the that original Four Kids dub, I was Koza in One Piece,
Oh,
in the Alabasta arc, which was awesome. It was really fun and a fun change from Yu-Gi-Oh at the time.
Yes. How long? Forgive me for not remembering. I should have done my research before the podcast, but
We're all winging it. It's fine.
we're we're winging it. I heard and remembered that 4 Kids really didn't keep the rights for One Piece for very long.
I don't know all of the businessy details. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I never understood the distinction until recently when someone was like, "No, no." Then they redubbed all that other stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, but I didn't
I
even
did it
realize it.
first.
But right? It
I
was
did it first.
you know I don't want to. it was clearly a very fun and very different show than everything else that they were doing at that time. And I don't know what made them say someone else should have the rights or could have the rights, but
Hmm.
it certainly worked out for One Piece.
It did. I still can't get caught up with One Piece.
Mhm.
I haven't
As
started it since I moved, to be honest.
It's a heavy lift.
it's
I mean,
very
not
heavy.
it's a fun show, but I mean, like, just to be like, I'm going to take on this project. You know, you need, you know, you need a lot of time on your hands to be able to do.
Yes. Because I'm married. I have a wife. She's slowly getting into anime. Like she'll sit and watch Yu-Gi-Oh with me, and she'll ask questions like, "Oh, what does that card do? What does that card do?" And it's kind of hard to describe to her like the anime portion of Yu-Gi-Oh because
Mhm.
I'm a TCG player. I play
Mhm.
Yu-Gi-Oh, and we were watching Yu-Gi-Oh the movie, uh and crush card virus came into effect, and then in the anime it literally takes every single monster in the deck with 1500 or more attack and then just sends it to the graveyard, right? Not the card. The card I think it's in your hand, and two from your deck go straight to the graveyard. And she was like, what does that do? And I was like, how much time you got? I can explain it, but it's gonna be a minute.
Right.
Uh,
You might regret asking.
You might regret asking.
he
And
he has
anytime we
so
talk,
much more knowledge on the card game than I do because I haven't played in like 10 years and they've added so much new stuff that I'm like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Hmm.
I was like,
Yeah, it
so
sounds like it's an entirely new game in a lot of ways. Uh,
they, yeah. To be honest with you, I play Master Duel. I don't know if you know anything about the mobile game that's out now. It's been out for quite a while. It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And before that, it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Generations, which they need to bring that back. It was a lot more fun.
oh, that was.
But I played a game this morning while I was getting up, and I was like, let me just get on Yu-Gi-Oh! And play a game. Dude spent It was his turn. Dude spent 5 minutes just summoning, rid of, summoning, getting rid of, summoning, getting rid of, and then just to play one card. And then
mhm.
he OTK'd my life points
He just pulled a
ASAP. I was
magic.
just like,
He just pulled a Magic the Gathering pretty much. That's all it was.
yeah.
I can summon 24
And,
goblins that give you 13 hits every time.
and
It's
I'm
so
just sitting
complicated.
I'm sitting in my bed, just like, I don't even think I want to get up now. I want to
I'm
go
just
back to
sad.
bed. So you played Marik, and I've got the consensus. I've announced it to all my friends, all my family. My mom was head over heels
Oh, it's
when because she back in the day she bought me a bunch of cards, and she bought me a
mhm.
dual disc. She bought me merchandise. I had so much Merrick shit.
That's funny. Well, I mean, it's funny. I have two kids, and 6 and 10, and they don't really care about Yu-Gi-Oh. The little one's a little more interested. They were much more interested in the Pokemon that I've done along the way. But like you're talking about, what's funny about that with your mom is that you do get, as a parent, you get so in deep with the shows that your kids are watching.
Hmm.
Um, and then I know it's funny for me to be on the con circuit and then run into people, colleagues that are like, that is like, my kids don't care about me, but like wait till I tell them I met Dora the Explorer or Miguel
Yeah.
Falcone, like and then they're like flip, they're like, what, who did you meet? um, so it's like, it is, you do get deeply involved. Like I can see where your mom would be like, I spend so much time and money
Yes.
invested in this thing that I did not care about, but somehow I got Stockholm syndrome because my kid loved it so much that I see how that can happen.
And I told her, I was like, this is a big dream of mine. Just being able to talk to you, to just be in Merrick's presence, and because I cosplayed as Merrick. I never got any pictures when I was a kid because I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone. That was
Sure,
uh,
smart
I
move.
I
Mine was a
cosplayed
flip phone.
as Marik for Halloween, and nobody knew in my school, like, because we had a little Halloween thing at my school, and
Mhm.
nobody knew why my hair was going in 16
Right.
different ways. And I made a Millennium Rod out of cardboard, and I spent like 2 hours on it, spray painting it, having a good time. And nobody knew who I was except for like my nerd friends. They were like, "Hey, you're Merrick from Yu-Gi-Oh!" I was like, "Yeah," but the popular kids like, "You look stupid." you
Don't you
know?
never listen to the popular kids.
No, and
And also, like, now it's years later, and quite frankly, even the popular kids know, like, anime is so mainstream.
it is.
Um, yeah, and it is such a, a monocultural thing in a lot of ways
Mhm.
that, the tables have turned to popular kids.
Exactly. I knew this guy in high school. He was a jock. You know, he was a football player. He never touched a Yu-Gi-Oh card. He never touched the anime. He never touched let's say One Piece or Full Metal Alchemist or anything like that. And the other day, I posted, the video that you sent me for the promotional thing, and posted to my Facebook. I was like, "This is not a drill. This is happening. I'm very, very excited." He called me. He's like, "Hey, you really interviewing the voice actor for that guy on Yu-Gi-Oh?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." I was like, "I thought you didn't watch anime." He's like, "Man, I've been watching anime for the last 2 years. I like it now." And I'm like, "You bullied me back in high school for watching anime. I
I get
distinctly remember
5 years
you
of
giving me a
bullying you.
wedgie." And
Uh,
kids are now just getting into it. And don't get me
hmm.
wrong, I'm happy that anime is mainstream now, but
Yeah, but you could have done with an apology at least.
exactly. Like, hey, man, I'm sorry I gave you a wedgie for liking One Piece. Like,
Mhm.
but no, no, no. He's into it now, and he said he's going to watch the video or listen to the podcast. And I was like, you know what?
Well, if you're listening, a high school bully, it's time for you to apologize. Uh, an
Thank you.
apology is necessary unless you want to be banished to the Shadow Realm.
Oh.
He's just gonna randomly get an "I'm sorry for everything" message like right after
Should.
it.
I look. I as someone who has received a bully apology, it's pretty nice. It's a pretty. We undervalue how nice it is, and as a society, like it's fine. Like people go off to college. Like it was a year after I had started school, and I ran into someone on the bus, and he was like, "Hey, bro, I'm so sorry for how I treated you." And it's like, you know what? Let's all live in that world. We're
Yeah.
like you think about
Forgiveness.
what you did wrong, and you apologize, or you graciously accept the apology without being like, fuck you. I went to college and I like put on 30
Right?
pounds of muscle. Like, man, I don't know why you apologized, but still.
Like
Oh.
that was like a couple friends I knew. I was always the kid that just made weird voices and tried to
Mhm.
mimic everything I heard. And I tried to do your voice from that show all the time, and I'm not even gonna try it now. It was
Come on, you announce it. I want to hear it. You've never told me that. I kind of want to. I want to
yeah,
hear you try
I
it.
did
Come
a
on.
bunch. Like I did plankton and stuff, but I was always made fun of, and they're like, "Well, you're never gonna do anything with that." And I was like, "Well, look at me now. I'm interviewing one of the a
There you
badass
go.
dude from when I was a kid," and I was like, "Where am I going now?"
You know, but look, it's funny. I never had designs on being a voice actor, right?
hmm
Um, and it's sort of a very different industry now, where I think people know about voice acting, people actively pursue it. But like back, this isn't like the early aughts, where like you kind of just want a job as an actor, and like you hear about it as like another job actors do, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, sure, I would love to do that for money. It's great, and that's exactly what it was. But in retrospect, I have thought about growing up in elementary school and middle school and high school and being the guy doing weird voices. And I wasn't good at impersonations, but like, I was always trying to like do voices and make people laugh and be funny in that way. And certainly looking back, like that way of coping in, when you're not a popular kid and you're finding different ways to survive childhood.
Yes.
Nothing to look. All the popular kids out there who have come around, look, that's hard too. I'm sure that's hard too. Uh, maybe not as hard, but it has
It's
its own
there.
challenges. But like we're also trying to survive childhood, and it is funny how I know for me, looking back, that was I was training for my profession by by doing these voices that ultimately helped me make money and led to tons of stuff in my career along the way.
And okay, so there's something I've always wanted to like, well, since talking to you and reaching out and whatnot. So when you were voicing Marik in Yu-Gi-Oh, um, so you voice regular Marik, but when he turned to like his darker half, was that your voice
Yeah,
doing that, or did they enhance it with
it
technology
it
to kind of make it sound
was
deeper?
it was a different version of Marik. Um, it's essentially just the Marik voice, but pitched down and much more gravelly. And frankly more painful to do, and because there's like a lot more effort and air being pressed against the chords, and then on top of that, then they do put like the reverb filter, but they did have me do a separate voice for it, and we are in the process of recording. I don't know if it's a whole new video game or a update of an existing Duel Links game. I don't know. I'm just know I'm in the booth again, and everything is separate. With like, we're doing Marik, and then we'll record the Yami Marik, and it's a whole separate. It's treated like a whole separate character with a whole separate voice.
Oh, okay. Okay. See, that was just something curious
Mhm.
because I was gearing up for my interview with you today. Last night I was watching all of season two, and then it got to where Yami Merrick, this darker half came out, and
Yeah,
I was like,
I pops out of his head.
yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I gotta ask if that he actually did that voice to make it sound like that, or if it was you did it, but they also added a little bit of reverb to it as well.
Yeah.
Because iconic role nonetheless, regardless if they put a reverb or not. Iconic role, you were I hate to say it this way because a lot of kids growing up watching Yu-Gi-Oh, they always like go Yugi, go whatever.
Mhm.
Me, I was on the side of the villains. Um, Never really liked Pegasus because he did Grandpa dirty. Okay, he did
Mhm.
Grandpa dirty in the first season. Uh, but when Merritt got introduced, my favorite episode out of the whole entire season two Battle City era was when Yugi battled Arcana, the
Mhm.
magician, and of course that's when Merrick started kind of getting introduced. Like, oh, I want Yugi's
Mhm.
puzzle. I'm going to take people, give them their darkest desires, but also put a twist to it. Arcana wanted his wife back. All that stuff, and just like Dark Magician versus Dark Magician was my favorite episode.
Mhm.
And of course, you could say the one that the Mime versus Yugi. Of course, you
Mhm.
voiced in that episode too. That was second to Arcana. I like like the reprint of Dark Magician in that episode.
Mhm.
So tell us how you initially got the part for Merrick.
So, I was a must have been like a year and a half out of school. I guess 2 years out of school. And living in New York City and doing the actor thing, and I was a cater waiter, for extra money. Or quite frankly, most of the money was from cater waitering.
Yeah,
Very little from acting. And through a contact at my school, they meaning uh, a studio that was uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? They were responsible for Ultraman. So like they
yeah.
weren't recording at Four Kids proper, but they were doing all the recording at a studio offsite. for Ultraman, and they were responsible for all those elements. And I got a call from these people. They were like, "Hey, we got your name from someone at your college. Um, we're seeing like just 3 actors this morning. If you book the job, it'll be this afternoon. Can you come over in like half an hour?" And especially like now I'm old and I can't get anywhere that fast. But like back then, I was like, "Yes, I will be there." And
Hop, skip, and you're there.
right,
Speed
got out of the,
race.
there's like, and that's sort of what um things are different in a lot of ways for young actors now, but like back then it was all about like that's why you would have like the cater waiter jobs and the bartending jobs and stuff that didn't even start until like 6 o'clock at night, so that you would
Hmm.
be around and available for like when that when a call like that came. And I went in, I got the job on Ultraman. I auditioned. They called me like an hour after that, and they said we need you back here in an hour. I got paid more money per an hour that I worked that I ever had up to that point. It's
Hmm.
very exciting when you're like 23 and that happens. And so I woke up that morning not a voice actor, and I went to bed that night as a voice actor. And the I did a few more roles like that on Ultraman. I got
Hmm.
along real well with the director of that show, and so like every like month he would be like, "Hey, can you come in and do this? Hey, can you come in and do that?" It would be like, who's Ultraman fighting this episode? Every like 5 episodes, the answer would be me. Uh, and uh, I don't think that show lasted very long. It was a wonderful dub. It was so funny.
Hmm.
Uh, it was it was very clear. If anyone's ever interested in the early aughts Ultraman, uh, it was clear that they didn't really mind how much fun the writers had with the dub. So a lot of it was very like Mystery Science Theater. It was commenting on the action. It was clearly people were saying things that were not the translation, and it was a lot of fun. Didn't last very long, and so the director of Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time, Eric Stewart, wears many, many hats in the anime universe and is incredible at all of them. He was just overloaded. He was like, I can't direct Yu-Gi-Oh! And be on Yu-Gi-Oh! And the director of Ultraman came on to take over for Yu-Gi-Oh! And when he did that, it was, in advance of the second season. And he was like, hey, man, you want to audition for this thing? And I had no idea at the time, especially because the original episode is only like 15 lines, right? It's
Yeah.
like he's very in the shadows. I don't think they even mention him by name. Um, and uh, I got the job. I found out a week later, and I was so thrilled. I recorded the episode. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea that it was going to be like a long running thing. Like, no one was ever like, this is the villain of this, you know, 50 plus episode arc that will take most of your next 2.5 to 3 years.
Hmm.
I just knew I was going in for this role, and then I got it, and I was pumped. And then I got it, and then I got replaced. Um, yeah, and the and then a week later I got my job back. And the short story was that they liked my initial voice. They thought it was a little too close to Pegasus, and instead of just asking me to do something different, they just brought in a different actor.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and that's also how things
It's
this
how they
kind of stuff
work in
happens all the time
Hollywood.
in acting. Uh, uh, you know, and you learn it's hard, but you learn not to take it personally. And it was
Hmm.
good. It was really good that I didn't, in a fury, like egg the offices of 4 kids, because then, like a week after they recorded this other actor, who I'm sure did a great job, and it just wasn't what they were looking for, they came back to me and they explained what happened. They were like, can we make adjustments on this? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so I think we recorded that first episode 3 to 4 times in total. Especially when they were bringing in a new vital character,
Hmm.
uh, a lot of people have to sign off on it. And that's what was going on. It was pretty much that, like, the director liked the initial one, the producer liked it, and they sent it off to the people that were higher up, and they got like, no, no. And so they kept on doing that. And the word was like, closer, closer. closer, and then eventually it ended up with the Marik voice that even if it shifted over the years, that like when you watch those first episodes with Marik, it's at least recognizable as Marik. Um, where he ends up at least. Uh,
Yeah.
and that was it. That was like from the, around the time I had no idea uh, that the show was a phenomenon while I was recording it.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I I had no idea that my character was uh, set up to be like a big major bad guy. And it was only a few weeks into doing it where for all the young folk out there listening, like you guys, TV Guide was a magazine people would get in the mail that
To
was
show
like a
you what's
little
on
right.
TV.
It was a little
That's
book
some stuff.
every week that would tell you what was going to be on your TV at the set time every week because you couldn't watch it when you wanted. You had to watch it when it was on. And the TV Guide had I think it was three variable, covers.
Hmm.
Uh, it was Yugi, it was Kaiba, and it was Marik. And that's the moment where I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" Like
I'm playing a villain.
I'm playing a villain. It's kind of when I found out that like the show was as successful as it was. I knew I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a kid show on Saturday morning. People seem to like it." I was like, "No, it's like a phenomenon level success." Um, and it's especially funny because like nowadays we don't, just because entertainment is so different, like we don't even have. It's not like like there are some shows obviously that like my kids or people with kids know that like everyone's watching.
Hmm.
Um, I've loved watching a lot of Bluey. I have less positive feelings about watching Coco Melon, although I don't mind it. But it's a
I,
harder watch. But like,
I've done my
so
time too. I feel
there,
you.
there you go. So like and yet, there are still like monocultural things like that, but like it is sort of hard to fathom today. I think, especially if you're if you're younger, of
Hmm.
like kids would wake up at you know anywhere from 7 a.m. if they were on the West Coast to 10 a.m. on the East Coast. And it was like that's when you would watch. And if you missed it and you weren't able to record it, like you would not know what would happen. And because of that, it was like every week, literally millions of children were watching this show at the same time and then going and then talking about it later that day when they would see their friends and then going into school and getting their Yu-Gi-Oh cards confiscated from their teachers. Like it was it was, and it wasn't until those TV guides came out that I had any real idea that it was anything people gave a shit about. And even then, it was still sort of hard to believe because uh, uh, no voice actors typically don't get recognized all that frequently. Um, and I think especially voice actors uh, who are doing a character voice don't really get recognized uh, their voice unless they're doing that character somewhere loudly. Um, so it wasn't even until a few years ago when I started doing more conventions that I had any idea that like this was something that
Everyone was such a fan.
yeah, it was all a thought experiment about how successful the show was until frankly pretty recently.
Think when it comes to voice actors nowadays, especially when it comes to anime and the anime circuit, a lot of people want to know who's voicing this character
Mm-hmm.
because, like me, and maybe Frank, I grew up watching you every morning on Kids WB, uh, one of the greatest programmings, for a kid. Um, I grew up watching you, and I never knew, and like, I never cared about the person voicing at the time because I'm a kid. I care
Yeah, of
about,
course.
Marik. I want to see Marik do Marik shit. Excuse me. But as an adult, you kind of got to see, okay, who voiced my childhood,
Right.
And I was scrolling on TikTok one day. This is how I came across
Mhm.
you. Because I have multiple TikToks. I have one that's my main. It's Melty CEO. He knows he follows almost all of them.
I know. 37 of them.
So like I have my main one. It's called Melty CEO. I have my gaming one, which is Senpai's TV. Yeah, I call myself Senpai. I'm cringe, as the kids would say nowadays. And
I'm
then
third
I
in
have
this
Melty
shit.
Talks, my podcast one. So I was scrolling in my Melty Talks. My format for my For You page is Master Duel, Yu-Gi-Oh clips, voice actors, or to be more
Mhm.
precise, voice impressions.
Mhm.
I adore anyone that could do like impressions of other people.
That's
And
how we
just one
became
day,
friends.
yeah, yeah. He is amazing at voices. I'll give him that. Um, so I'm scrolling. I'm outside one day. I just got off work and I'm scrolling, and all of a sudden I see Marik reads the news, and I'm like, no way, this is the voice actor for Marik Ishtar. Like there can't be any way. And then you started reading it as Marik, and I'm like,
Mhm.
holy shit. And I think of the quote, you miss 99% of the shots you don't take. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna message him. See if he responds. And you did, and you can ask my wife. My wife is living proof. I ran in the house like a kid in a candy store. He's talking to me.
Like what I did, Mom.
You know, there are two good life lessons from this. I think the first, as you say, is like you always got to shoot your shot, right? Like
Hmm.
you never know. It doesn't hurt, and and not you were very polite and not weird. And I think that's the other lesson that people don't think about as much is that actors love talking about themselves. And like, you know,
Fair enough.
I, I did someone else's podcast who was the same way, and he was like a very young guy, and I think he was like 19 at the time. And I was like, "Oh, you really interviewed a lot of stuff." He's like, "Oh, I just ask." He was like, "Most people say yes." And like this is really, I think those two things combined, um, when it comes to this kind of thing, are very key. You shoot your shot, and have good lessons for anyone about shooting your shot. And actors are narcissists,
And
who will not pass down an opportunity
a,
to talk about themselves.
a lot of people, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, Frank. I pull up
I'm eating a
2007.
chicken
I'm gonna let you
sandwich. I'm not gonna.
finish.
Go ahead. I'm
Uh,
gonna eat this chicken sandwich. I'm hungry. I just got off work, bro.
so like a lot of people ask me, whenever I'm doing this podcast, because I've had this podcast since I was 19, and I'm
Mhm.
29 now. Uh, but to be honest with you, when I first started, it was called Senpai on the Rocks. It's an alcoholic joke or whatever. I really didn't take it seriously. I would sit with a couple of friends, we'd talk bullshit, we'd joke around, whatever. And then, I got the call to go out of state for work and, do engineering type stuff. So I put a pause, I put a pin, in the podcast circuit, and I went and worked, provided for my family, came back down. A couple of my friends were like, hey, let's start the podcast back up. So I was like, all right, cool. Same thing. Really didn't take it seriously. Every now and again, we'd have an episode where we would have a gimmick, like, oh, weird laws in the United States, or uh,
There's some weird
I think
ones.
it was 2023 or 2024. I don't remember when, but it was the New Year's Day podcast where we did weirdest headlines of 2020, whatever.
That was
But
2024.
most of the time, huh?
That was 2024.
2024. Thank you. I mean, the rest of the times it would be like, oh, game night part one, game night part two, and it's just random bullshit. Like
Mhm.
no one knew what was going on. You couldn't hear anybody's voices because everybody was talking at once. So just here recently, this is episode 7 of season 2. Oh no, season 2. Everything in season one was just bullshit. I've deleted half of them because it's
Yeah,
whatever. Because a
Yeah.
couple questionable things were said, and not, today, everyone's scared to get canceled. So
look,
I was like, you know what?
thank look, it's what a blessing that there's not a more extensive record of things I said when I was 19. Like that's
Okay.
it's we need a little bit of grace to grow and make like those bullies in high school. You grow, you want to make your amends, you want to live life a better person.
Exactly.
Um,
So whenever I started taking this seriously, and some people have doubted, and I'm not going to go into the detail about it.
yeah,
They're gone
But
now.
when I reached out, Frank. So when I reached out to you and I posted on Facebook, I'm gonna interview this guy that I've been a fan of for years, decades even. They were like, "Are you gonna start doing a series now on your podcast of voice actors?" And there's only a select few in my radar that I want to interview. You being top number one, because like I said, big fan for years. Uh, I want to interview the voice actor for Full Metal Alchemist. I done forgot his damn name.
Vic Mignogna.
Vic Mignogna. Thank you. I want to interview Tom Kenny from SpongeBob fame and Rocco's Modern Life and all this other
Hello,
stuff.
Rocco.
Hello, Rocco.
Tom's really
And
nice. I gotta meet him in Oklahoma.
everyone's asking, this is your big break, and everyone's treating it as like a milestone. And granted, yes, I'm very lucky to be here talking to you, but me myself, I want this interview, you know, us talking to each other because you're awesome.
well,
you're
thanks.
part pardon my French when I say this, but you're fucking Marik Ishtar, dog. Like
Thank you, sir.
you are top tier, the best anime villain from my childhood. Second is Frieza, and third is the Doctor Shao Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist. But uh, I have to
On my
ask.
list. He's on my list of people I despise. Is Shao Tucker? Okay.
So you voice recorded, you got the job. Did you do any type of research on Yu-Gi-Oh when you got the job? Like, did you read the manga or did you watch older seasons?
I so again because of the time it was in the same way where like there are actors on current versions of Yu-Gi-Oh and current versions of Pokemon that have grown up with the show that understood the world of like voice acting that became professional actors that might even be like, oh, I'm going to Texas because that's where a lot of anime voiceover happens. They've geared their lives around pursuing that. Back in the early aughts, I was a very as a performer, I loved doing research.
Hmm.
Um, I had no idea there was a manga at the beginning. I like it wasn't like no one like hands you like like nowadays like you like I first off if I got a job like that now, I would just be like, "What is Marik? Like, what is Yu-Gi-Oh?" And I would have been like, "Oh, holy shit!" And like in the aughts, I was like, "Oh, sweet! Look how much I got paid for an hour of work."
Yeah.
And like, "Oh, how cool!" And then like it would be like Saturday morning, it'd be like, "Holy shit! I'm on TV. This is incredible." And certainly my appreciation for the world of anime, for the show in particular, for the challenges of dubbing, um, all of those things certainly grew and developed. And as much as I was an actor, where like, if I was doing a play by an author, like if I did a play by Bertolt Brecht, I would read like every Bertolt Brecht play and multiple translate. Like I loved being that kind of, you know, intellectual actor. I didn't know any of that stuff was available to me. And I did that thing where I was like, is it possible you know, to get the scripts ahead of time so that I can work on them? And they were like, oh no, that's not how things go here.
Oh
They're like,
god.
they're like, we're essentially getting the script, minutes before we record, the first actor for the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I say that, I don't want to diminish. It's kind of the opposite. Like, people worked incredibly hard, and it was a very complicated machine because you had so many different uh, uh, people and corporations with vested interests in the show, not to mention the legal department, not to mention the network. Like, everyone, there were like so many cooks in that kitchen, and everyone was trying to do their best on a very fast timetable.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, the hard what the hard work became was the technical challenges of dubbing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, there were certainly people who had a more natural ability than I did, but I was always, I never went over in a session, or certainly not by much. Like, but it would be a challenge, and it would be a challenge to, you have to, match the flap of the. This is changing, but like, you had to match what the mouth was doing, and you had to do the character. You had to act it. You also had to make sure the voice didn't fall off, and you had to maintain a certain amount of vocal health. And you had to take notes from the director and the engineer and the producer, like, especially with a bad guy, um, and a bad guy like Marik, who would sometimes be like very very intimate and like talking very intensely, and then would be like shouting loudly. We're like, I had to learn with a lot of help about how to do that without like blowing out the engineer's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you would learn how to like not start a sentence quiet and end it loud, because that was very challenging for an engineer to like manage. So like, there were all kinds of different technical things uh that like became the hard work of that show. And then um as much as we're getting a little in the weeds with like actory stuff, I know uh e- everyone working on that show, and this is probably true for any acting job, where like there is no platonic ideal of an act. Like, there's no like, oh, this is the perfect situation in which to do a play or a TV show or a dub, or any, or an audiobook, or any of those things. There's no like perfect situation. uh and so you're always trying to juggle the the art and the things that you love about doing that art, and then professionalism, which has a lot to do with money and time. And like, yeah, I'm sure someone would have loved to have been like, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh family, you're going to start this job in 3 months, please spend the next 3 months reading the entirety of the available manga, um please watch these 50 episodes from the first season, and we'll see you in 3 months and expect your homework to be done. No one's doing that. It was like, oh, you got the job, and
Get in
then
the
you lost the
booth
job, and
and
then you got
say
the job.
shit.
And like, once you had the job, like, you were in every week,
Mm-hmm.
recording this episode, recording the next episode, and just getting it done. And so, um, you always work with the parameters you're set in. Um, it's the like the legendary story of the making of Jaws, where it's like, that movie's better because the shark wasn't working, and so they had to find new ways to convey that in the first 2 acts, and then you end up with a masterpiece. That there's no time to like learn about Marik and Marik's backstory. There aren't the resources readily available. So what you do, well, and I think a lot of other actors did similar things, is you say to yourself something like, well, I have learned from my acting training that bad guys don't know they're the bad guys. Bad guys, have reasons for doing what they're doing, and they, even someone who's big and cartoonish probably has something that is driving him. And so, I that's whether or not that reads, in the first 30 some episodes. That's not for me to say, but it was edifying then when you get to the episode where you're like, here's Marek's backstory. Um, and I didn't know that backstory. As an actor, you love to know those things. But you do get to that episode, and I was like, oh, good. I'm glad I never assumed that he was an evil person who was always evil, because then you get to the backstory and you find out, of course, that's not the
That's
case.
not
Of
the
course,
case. Yeah.
yeah, of course, there's trauma and there's complexity, and I think that's what makes Marik relatable to a lot of people. Um, and I even think, and then when that episode happened, I was like, oh, good. Like, I feel like I did my job by not in my head. Again, I don't know whether this ever came out, came across, but in my head, of course, this is just some poor guy who like had a fucked up life and ended up being super evil, and you know by thinking about those things and finding moments to make Marik a little more human, then you're rewarded when you find out the backstory, and then it makes his arc make sense when Yami comes out and is too evil for even Marik, and then that leads to his redemption arc. So uh, I think as an actor, uh, the job is often very much the same, regardless of the format, regardless of like whether you're doing Shakespeare or you're doing a for lack of a better term, a Saturday morning cartoon for kids.
Hmm.
I don't want to diminish it when I know that's not an accurate description, but like that's how it was presented at the time. But like the job's kind of always the same. Like your character always has a goal, and your character always has a history, and your job as an actor is to try to get that across in whatever maniacal laughter that your character's doing. It's at least driven by something else than just like I'm evil. um
And
Sorry,
see,
that was a
like,
very long answer to that question, but
no, you're fine. Like, we love hearing you, explain everything, because for those that don't know all about that type of stuff,
mm,
they're hearing it straight from what's the term, the horse's mouth or something
horse's
like that.
mouth.
Yeah, or something
His
like
helmet.
that.
Yes.
They hear it straight from you because you lived it, you've done it. And as a kid, I never knew. I mean, I knew of anime, but I never knew of the censored type of anime. It's a lot
Hmm.
different,
Yeah.
because, and I ain't gonna lie, like, I grew up on High School DxD, and for those that know, it's a bunch of anime bitches with some big titties, and it was very suggestive,
Very
and it was
accurate
not for
description.
kids. It's a very accurate description.
I
It
needed
was
accurate.
dubbed. It was
Hmm.
dubbed over, but it wasn't dubbed over for kids. It was dubbed over for adults.
Sure.
Uh, but I still watched it as a kid, and it had me kind of curious,
Yeah.
which led
Of
into,
course.
and
Why
I'll
did
be
I
honest, it
ask?
led it led me into looking up what hentai was, and now I hate myself as a kid for looking up hentai. But with Yu-Gi-Oh, I never knew that there was an uncensored version, because there's a lot of things that were
Right.
censored in Yu-Gi-Oh. For like you said, Merrick's backstory. We all know
Hmm.
Merrick's backstory for the 4 kids version. Very few don't know about it for the actual Japanese version. With the scene with what's his name? What's his name? Odeon. Odeon. My bad. Whenever he went into the room, this scene was completely etched out of the dub, because M- Odeon was going to kill Merrick in the
Hmm.
original Japanese version, but he decided not to. Um, they killed the dad, and of course, with the 4 kids dub, it was sent him to the Shadow Realm, and
Right.
that's all fine and dandy. We all
Hmm.
we all love the Shadow Realm; it's cool. But in the original, like, oh, they just slit his throat. They killed him. It's
Hmm.
I
whatever.
remember
Japanese is
I remember
good.
watching the 4 kids version of that, and I was like, "Oh, this is man, that's sad." Then watching the Japanese as an adult, going, "What the fuck?"
And just, and like you said, seeing Merrick's backstory and how and you kind of get a sense of this is why I sided with Marik back whenever I was a kid. I
Mhm.
was like, well, that's sad. That's fucked up. He
Mhm.
deserves to be who he is. He doesn't want to be a gravekeeper all of his life. Let the boy live, And as an adult, I'll be honest with you. I will watch Yu-Gi-Oh day in and day out. I will skip the backstories because I've spent years, and I'll be sitting there. I'm like, oh, Marik's about to duel Joey. This is gonna be awesome.
Mhm.
Backstory. Fast forward.
Right.
I've seen this 1,000 times.
You're like, I know the backstory.
I already know what happened. I know he doesn't want to be a gravekeeper, which, by the way, I run gravekeeper decks too on my PlayStation on Master Duel. I have something to tell you, Marik. And this, since you're here, I can say it. Joey deserved to win that duel. He,
Well,
No, he didn't.
deserved. I don't.
you got
Uh,
lucky.
you know, uh, to paraphrase The Social Network, if he had won the duel, he would have won the duel.
Joey don't deserve shit. Shut up.
Right. You know.
And that's another thing that I recently learned. Shout out to Shibuya. I don't know if you've listened to our podcast or any of our other episodes. Now, granted, I have a quick PSA, just real quick, ladies and gentlemen. When I send you my podcast, and the episode's called "The Millennium Foot Fetish," just
Yeah, I missed that one. I was so sad. I was supposed to be on that.
when I send you this podcast to listen to, I am not admitting I have a foot fetish. Please stop asking me. Really
Re-
have a foot fetish? No.
Yeah, he says it
Retweets
after.
are not endorsements.
Retweets are not endorsements. So, no, I do not have a foot fetish. You have to listen to the episode to get the episode title. First off and foremost. Okay, back to what I was saying. So, we interviewed a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, and the person's name was Shibuya Gato from the Millennium Microphone. Really nice person, awesome to talk to. Sounds like one of my good friends. Voice double. They so they talk about, like, they watch the episodes and then they review them on podcasts. It's like a rewatch podcast. And they said something that I didn't believe until I watched it. When Yu-Gi-Oh was dubbed in Japanese, everyone had different names. I mean, Marik had Marik's name, uh, but Joey was Jinoche,
Mhm.
and the funniest one. You remember Tristan? We all know Tristan. His name was Honda
Mhm.
in the Japanese stuff. Like, what the hell? So yeah, there's a lot of differences when it comes to 4 kids in Japanese, and of course, it's 4 kids. It's in the title. It's 4 kids. Uh, my question, and I've always wanted to ask this: what was it like? Like, what was a day in the studio for Yu-Gi-Oh for you?
um, it was usually on any given episode, you would be booked for for the week ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way the way they recorded, it was like they had a whole bunch of different studios in their complex, and you would essentially, the week before, they'd tell you how many hours they needed you on each individual show. They would say, we need you for 4 hours for Yu-Gi-Oh. Do you have an hour for Winx Club and an hour for GI Joe? And you'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure. And then they would book your time, on their big map of who they needed and what they had available. And then you'd go in for your time. I know when I was doing Marik and Yami Marik, you get to the studio, you get there early so that you can line up all of your, I would have multiple waters. I would have water, coffee, tea, because it would be hard to get through a session sometimes with Marik's voice,
Yes.
especially Yami Marik's voice. And then you would go in there and you would have a screen in front of you. They There's a lot changing currently, but even just like a year ago is very different from what it was 20 years ago, which is there was a system for dubbing where they would give you three beeps. So like you
Hmm.
would have your line, and there'd be like the rhythm, and so it would be like beep, 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 talk with the flap. And so like you'd be working on your rhythm, watching the screen. You would have your line on the script. That's another thing that's different now. Because now everything's on the screen, and and probably the next generation of voice actors, if there are another generation of voice actors, that the uh, you know you might not even have to worry about flap, which is not the worst application of technology. I think if that's where it ended, people would welcome it. But so the you'd go in there, you'd get to work, and that work was just going line by line in the script. um, you would record it. It would either be perfectly fine and you would move on, or the director would have a little note. The director would maybe explain a moment that's happening, because even if you would have the full script, there wasn't a lot of time to like read through it and understand the shape of the episode.
Hmm.
So that would be really dependent on the director to say, okay, and and you'd know some stuff, but he'd be like, okay, in this moment, like here's a you know, Marik's taking a turn where this is like a big deal, so we need it to be like really big. Um, uh, this is the I give it a little more emphasis. Take this down a little quieter. We don't see his mouth on the animation, so you can feel free to go like real big with it. Um, and then in terms of even like the changes that were made, most changes were made initially to the script.
Hmm.
They were very clear about what it would be in the original, and I think we would always have to, So Shadow Realm was infused with everything the Shadow Realm implied.
Yeah.
Like we like when we, and then even in the animation, there was lots of stuff that was toned down or cut out. Um, whether that was even in Japan, it was like an evening show, but it wasn't like it was like an all audiences
Yeah.
show. So it was never super explicit. Um, but they did tone down some more risque stuff in the animation, uh, and some of the more graphic violence. And usually the stuff that was visual, we would see in front of us, and we'd be like, "Whoa!" And they'd be like, "Yeah, we're taking that out." And the I know other people have talked about this, which is how I know about it. Is that the a lot of the decisions that were made in terms of editing for American audiences, a
Real quick,
lot of
real
that,
quick,
you bet.
real quick. Continue what you're saying. I'm gonna mute myself real quick. I have someone knocking at my door.
Okay, DoorDash, it's finally here. Um, that I had learned fairly recently the extent to which it was like a legal department uh, that was responsible for uh, coming in and saying, this show is airing at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We cannot allow you to say that. And there would usually be arguments about it, be like, oh, well, like we really need to convey this is happening. And they'd say, well, like, nope, we can't do that, or here's what you can do. I think a lot of times what would happen is they would make adjustments that would be less explicit, but more, um, probably more. Hello there.
Latino.
Um, things that would be more.
Latino.
What's the word? Uh, Things that were like worse in some ways, even if they were allowed to be shown on Saturday mornings.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing I really uh I just had the word in my head, admire about when they're doing the voice acting when you guys do it, because it's like as a kid, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to do. That sounds easy. And then I tried it and I was like, oh my God.
Um, yeah, voice acting. I mean, it's funny. It's you would think because you're left with one tool, you know, compared to like, you know, getting on stage and doing a performance where you're using your whole body and you're using your voice and you're using your face. And like, if you're on camera, you're like, more focused on like the subtle movements of your face, where in audio, it's just your voice, right? And you would think like, oh, well, I'm just worrying about your voice. But there's still a million little things that you're concerned about. Uh, and like, I know it's funny to me to think about like, when you're watching TV and hear them be like, the new Nissan Altima. That like, it's one line talking about how great the Nissan Altima is. And like 100 of us auditioned for the Nissan Altima. And those 100 actors are like total professionals, and any one of them could have gotten the job. And maybe 50 of them sounded too old or too young. And then like 20 of them maybe didn't have like the best day. So like it wasn't that energetic. And then there's like 30 actors who are like, I don't want to say interchangeable because that diminishes what we do, but like there are 30 actors who like it would have been fine. Like they could have gotten the job and it would have been great. But like that's just how weird the industry is like someone somewhere is listening for this like little sliver of something that they respond to in that way. But that, you know, there are still, even though you're just dealing with the voice, it's almost like you're like drilling down more than you're like blowing it off. You know what I mean? Like you're not like thinking less as an actor just because it's your voice. You're actually thinking in some ways more so about how to convey it with, all of your other tools proverbially tied behind your back.
That is amazing. Okay. Okay. So obviously you got a glimpse of my neighbor Kristen, uh, and my son Dean. That's my little boy.
Fantastic.
Uh,
How old
by
is
the
Dean?
way, Dean is 7 years old. Uh,
Awesome.
I have a daughter too as well. She's 8. Dean, I forgot to say earlier, because I was going to tell you, we watch Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. Like
Nice.
he loves Yu-Gi-Oh. He has his own Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Now, granted, he doesn't treat it nice. He doesn't treat it
Mhm.
He's
nice.
a kid.
He's a kid, and
Yeah.
so I have a big favor to ask of you,
Yeah.
sir.
Shoot.
So, friend Kristen is a big fan. Uh, I didn't mention him yet, and I'm sorry, bro. If you listen to this, I'm sorry. My buddy Jordan, who's also a co-host on, he was very excited. He wanted to be on the show, but he has work tonight, which hence the reason he can't be on the show. And my son Dean, I was gonna ask if you could, in Merrick's voice, say hello to them with
Hmm.
Merrick's voice,
And it
so
was
they can
Jordan
hear it.
is the co-host.
Yes, Jordan Klein.
Hello, Jordan Klein. It's such a terrible state of affairs that you chose work over meeting me. And unfortunately, that shows me your character and how I would so easily defeat you in a duel. And as for you, Dean, because you're young, I will not challenge you yet. But one day, if you work hard enough, I'll allow you to stand before me in a game of Yu Gi Oh! And we will see who is the ultimate champion.
It could you say hi to Kristen just
That is
one
And
more
hello,
time?
amazing.
Kristen. What a pleasure to watch you walk across this screen and say hello in the background.
Listen, goosebumps, man. I just
That's amazing.
it's so amazing how like because you have such a deep voice like when you just regular talking and then you just switch to Merrick like at
Mhm.
ease and hearing that is just goosebumps, man. Like, uh,
Well, thank you.
and Mr. Goatman here, he does voices, and and a lot of people are like, well, what voices can I do? And I'm not a voice actor. And if this voice can voice, like my regular voice can voice a character, by all means hire me. Like I'll do whatever. But there's only two voices I could do, and you can ask Mr. Goatman. Those voices kind of blend in together, and they
Sometimes.
if I talk for too long, like if I'm reading something, it kind of blends together. It's Carl from Jimmy Neutron
Mhm.
and Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah, do they blend? And it's hilarious.
For instance, like the other day, I was ordering. I went to McDonald's, right? And I was by myself. Wife didn't know. Okay, it was early in the morning. I was like, you know what? The
Secret
wife, no,
McDonald's.
yes. So like the wife normally sleeps for hours in the morning. So I was like, I can escape to McDonald's, and so I go there, and no one's in line, no one's in the building. It was empty. So I was like, I'm gonna have fun with the staff. I'm just gonna have a little bit of fun. I go up to the thing, and I'm like, hello. They're like, what? Can we help you? I would like two Big Macs with extra sauce. And they're like, sir, it's breakfast. I was like, oh, I'd like two sausage McMuffins with extra cheese. And then I just started like morphing the two.
Mhm.
I sounded just like Mickey mixed with freaking Carl, and I only do Mickey to you know
Mhm.
make my son laugh. Like he'll wake up in the morning, I'll be like, "Ha ha, good morning there, buddy. How are you?" And he'll laugh, do whatever. And I've tried Marik before, and like Carl said, you don't want to hear it. Let's say, what's one quote from Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, what's
Yours
one
is
quote
better
from
than
Marik?
mine though. Mine is awful.
Uh, my wife is, if you can't tell, my wife is over here just saying, "Do it, do it." He says,
Do
"Hi."
it.
Yeah. Do it,
Okay,
friends.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to quote, fucker. Give me a second. Uh, oh fuck, I'm drawing a blank. All the years I've watched Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm drawing a
Give,
blank.
give me the shadows hunger for your soul.
The shadows hunger for your soul.
See, when I try, I sound like Shigaraki from My Hero. It's bad.
Let's hear yours.
Uh,
Let the shadows hunger for your soul.
I know. Okay. Uh, the
You put out the
shadows
sassy
hunger for
bitch.
your soul.
Nice.
It's all right. It's pretty
I
good.
you're taking a bit of the edge off.
Yeah,
You're
that's.
like, oh, you're not.
I also
you
live
know,
in an
we
apartment complex with people. My
right. You're
with
like, I don't want them
yeah.
calling. They're like, that's how you get the
I
cops at your door when you're like,
Well, I it
he's
happens
he's
anyway.
downstairs threatening someone.
What's the shadow realm?
Right.
And why do they hunger?
All right, so
We I did a con this past weekend where I
NostalgiaCon.
nostalgia con, and I got to sit next to the wonderful Amy Birnbaum, um, who plays Taya, and among others. And you get a little loopy over the course of like multiple days. And there was a point where we we were just greeting fans with like each other's voices, where she'd be
Mm-hmm.
like Shadow Realm, and I would be like Boyo, because she plays Kirby. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so like if you ever go to a con and meet a voice actor on that third day, you should just know they've lost their minds by then.
Oh yeah, I've been to a lot of
Okay, so
cons.
I totally look. We were lost in the moment talking with you. So we have a segment on the show, and
Yeah.
we actually have two. And I'm just gonna let you know before When it's the end of the podcast, we do Melty's final thought, kind of
Okay.
like Jerry's final thought from Jerry Springer. That's where I got the
Mhm.
inspiration from. Rest in peace, Jerry.
Jerry,
Um,
Jerry.
Jerry. So yeah, we'll give our final thought at the end of the episode. But one of the segments that we have mid-show, which we normally do it at the beginning, like I said, we got lost in time, is Melty's question of the week.
Okay.
So with you being our esteemed guest, like you are amazing, you're awesome. We are going to do a first in the show because normally I ask the question of the week.
Okay.
We are going to let Marik ask the question of the week.
So I just have to. What kind of question?
Any
Like
type of question you want, like what's your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh episode? What's your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card? Something Yu-Gi-Oh themed.
What's the
Yu-Gi-Oh
crazy
themed.
formula?
Um. What? No, wait.
He's drawing a
No, no,
blank.
no, no, no. No, I want to think of the best way to frame it. Um, and I'm gonna make it not. We're gonna make it friendship based, not romantic based. Uh,
Okay.
uh what Yu-Gi-Oh? Two-part question. What Yu-Gi-Oh character do you think you would have the most fulfilling friendship with? And which Yu-Gi-Oh character would you have the most fun friendship with, even if it crashed and burned in like 48 hours?
Joey.
All right, everyone listening and
And so
watching at home.
that can be romantic, that can be friendship based, like whatever, however you want to interpret it.
My my answer, okay, so for the best friendship, granted, I would say Merrick, but I feel like I'm biased when it comes to that, so I'm gonna choose different.
Okay.
Honestly, Bakura. Not
Mm-hmm.
his evil side, but his normal side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one to have the most fun with, I'm sorry, I gotta give it to my boy Joey. I gotta give it to my boy
Mm-hmm.
Joey. I feel like he would bring me to a bunch of food spots that I've never eaten
You,
before.
yeah, Joey in the real world, I feel like it's making me think of an actual friend I know where you're like having a great time, but like you're at the bar and you're like, is this guy going to get me into a fight tonight? Like,
Facts. He's
I don't. It's going to
unpredictable.
be over nothing. I don't want to fight. I don't. These people seem nice. And this guy's. I had a friend who like we don't we don't need to drag him into it. But it was a friend who was like so fun, but like the loose cannon, and you're like, oh man,
Exactly.
that would
Some
be.
people say
I
that
think
would
you're
be
right. I
me.
think yeah, but there might be other
uh,
answers. I don't know. You know.
Carl, look, I'll be honest with you. If I'm out at the bar with you and you hear me say, "What the fuck are you looking at?" Take me out, bring me home. I'm done for the night.
Right.
Like I'm
You
finished.
wouldn't catch me in a
Take me
bar
home.
again, oh Tanner.
All right. So the question of the week is, you know what he just said, Carl. What's your answer?
Oh, I said Joey.
All right. What about the second
Joey
one?
for like fun friendship
Oh, the fun
Bur-
friendship?
burns. Well, there's like there's like who's the character who's like giving your eulogy one day about your lifelong friendship, and
Oh,
who's your
Griffin.
character who you're like, oh man, we just came back from Vegas, and like this character and I almost like came to blows by the end of it, but until that point it was so fun.
Oh, okay. First one, Joey. Second one, Kaiba.
Yeah, I see it.
Because
I can,
I will fist fight the hell out of Kaiba.
Right, but at first he'd be like, come with me, I know the bouncer, come on.
Yeah.
I
I'll
know the
get you
bouncer.
drinks for super cheap.
Yeah,
I own
we're
this
drinking.
place.
They're not even gonna bring me the bill. They know me.
Yeah.
I
I own
paid
the
for this
owner. It's
place when we
me.
got here.
He's
And
like
you
the
see,
Batman of the Yu-Gi-Oh world.
Mm-hmm.
and like when it comes to like anime villains, let's just talk about anime villains for a split sec. I've always had this mindset, and no one's been able to prove me wrong since. Okay, because Marik is the voice is a little high pitched, but
Mm-hmm.
if you think about anime villains, okay, they all sound the same. Let's put into perspective Dragon Ball, the first real villain of Dragon Ball Z, Raditz, right? Double Sunday is a bunch of raspiness in his voice, okay? Then you think
Shigaraki.
about Shigaraki. I am the best villain ever.
I'm gonna
A
turn
bunch of
this world
raspiness
into
in his voice.
dust.
I'm gonna turn this world into dust. And then you get Kaiba, which was, kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
villain in the first arc of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah,
It's
like an
I'm
anti-hero.
like a little anti-hero. I am going to beat you, Yugi, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you got Merrick, just a little bit high pitched, and I'm gonna steal your Millennium Puzzle, Yugi. And
Yugi.
my question for like the Yu-Gi-Oh people, because like I said, I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh person. I play Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, granted, I can't keep up with the times. That's just the old man in me. I'm 29 years old, and if you if I'm facing you in Master Duel and you synchro summon off of two cards in your immediate hand, you haven't even normal summoned yet. I'm confused. Like, okay, whatever happened to I play this face down, I end my turn. What happened to that? It's no longer available.
And that's why I play
So
Magic, Tanner.
uh, I just started getting my foot back into Magic. And you have all these villains and all this other stuff, and they all sound the same in every anime dub, right? And but when it came to Mary, like I said, it's a little high pitch, because
Mm-hmm.
in the anime he's young, he's still like in his 20s or something like that. I think I don't know, sure, but there's always a solution to every problem in the world, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an evil man with a magic rod trying to steal my necklace that I spent years. If you read the manga, it took Yugi, I think, 3 years to build the Millennium Puzzle. I don't remember the timestamp. There's an easy solution to that. Oh, this dude's trying to steal my cards.
Kick him in the
My
face.
cards. My cards.
Don't touch me, bitch.
Yu-Gi-Oh would be like 3 or 4 episodes long if guns were
Mhm.
involved.
If Joey had a
Right.
gun, it would be one episode. You're a third-rate duelist. All right, we're good. Let's go.
Wait, you stole my grandpa's soul? Give it back.
You just hear a shotgun in the background. I'll give it back. I'm sure.
Give it back. Whoa, just don't kill me. Don't kill me. Okay. So I also want to do another first for Melty Talks, real
Okay.
quick.
Great. Before
So
we do that, this is my fault. I'm just gonna grab my charger real quick
go ahead.
because I was hoping it would last this whole time.
We're at an hour and 18. I think we can make it to an hour 30, and then just I
That's
think we're
perfect.
good. Yeah, like an hour and 30 is good. Like we learned about you. We learned about the voice act. Now
Oh, I'm
we're in
all
the
good. I
part
just
of.
don't want to run out of this power.
Oh yeah, we understand. We can keep talking. I don't care. I'm having fun. Like this is the best podcast so far of season 2.
72,
Terrible view from people of my height.
For those that are listening on Spotify, he's plugging in his phone.
Right.
It's a room.
Okay, so I want to have in my life right now. There's a lot of things that people have that are one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will be like, "Oh, this is one of a kind. This is one of a kind." And for what I'm about to do, some people will be like, "Oh, that would make no sense." I don't. I searched far and wide. And it wouldn't have been delivered. The Winged Dragon Raw wouldn't have been delivered by the time we
Mm-hmm.
did this episode. But I found this at GameStop. What I want you to do, Mister Jonathan. This is the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This right here, I want you to virtually sign it and autograph it for me. So
Just get some
Like
marker
we
and
just use our imaginations.
Use your imagination.
Uh, Little Melty, prepare for the Shadow Realm.
All
Jonathan
right.
Todd Ross, Yami Marik.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a one of a kind autographed,
Virtually signed.
virtually signed Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And it is mine, and I'm not selling it on eBay. I'm not one of those
tonight it'll be on
assholes.
whatnot. So,
It'll be on whatnot.
all
So,
right.
I told a buddy about that. I was like, I'm gonna get him to virtually sign something. He's like, how the fuck does that even work?
With
Funny.
imagination.
Imagination, and it's etched in stone now. Basically, it's on
Yeah,
podcast. It's proof. Like if I tell
There's a
someone
recording of it. I have proof.
there's a, I have proof.
it's like almost like an NFT.
It's like an NFT. Yes, you
We
are
just signed
correct.
it digitally.
And I was
I
actually,
should have
I
just
was
been like
asked,
this and just.
I was asked for an autograph once. And I'm not famous by any means. Don't get me wrong. But I'm an artist. I like to draw. I'm a big art person. I like to draw a lot of stuff. Mr. Goatman here has seen a lot of my artwork. I've actually drawn for him a couple times. Uh, so this
Paint me
happened
like one
about.
of your French girls, Jack.
Paint me
Um,
like one of your. My family is French, so that makes it even
there
weirder.
you go.
Paint me like one of your French
So
girls, Tanner.
so
Love me
years
like one of your
ago,
ladies.
I was chilling in Taco Bell. This is way before I met my wife, way before I had my kids. I was sitting in Taco Bell because that's where I worked at the time, and I was drawing on my sketch pad. Well, this kid just came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you drawing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm drawing." He's like, "Well, what are you drawing?" I was like, "Well, I'm drawing Goku from Dragon Ball Z." And I was damn near done with it, and he was like, "Can I have it?" Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, dude, here." I gave it to him, and I was like I said, it was a couple months ago. I was in Sulphur. I was at Walmart, and I was looking at the Yu-Gi-Oh booster packs and all this other stuff that they had. I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's like, "Hey, are you Tanner?" And anyone that does that to me in a town I used to live in,
Right,
Why are
right.
you a lawyer?
are you a lawyer? Did I do something?
It's a
So
process server.
I turned around. This kid is now like 20 years old, and he's young. He's like, "You drew my Goku for me when I was like
Oh my
10."
god.
And I was like, "Holy shit,
Oh, that's so
you're
funny.
you're tall."
What are they feeding you, Groot?
What are they feeding you? And he was like, "Listen, uh, I know you're not famous," and which kind of hit me in the heart. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you just had to say that." What the fuck? So he was like, "But can you sign this for me?"
Aw.
He pulled out the same picture I drew for him, and he's
Oh
like,
my
"Can you?"
god.
He's like, "Can you sign this for me? Because you never signed it when I was a kid." I was like,
That's fantastic. I love that he had it on him.
"Yeah." And the reason why he did, he's an artist, and how he explained it to me was he copies the drawing I did to kind of get better feel for how to draw anime eyes, how to draw Dragon Ball hair, and all this other stuff. And I was like, "Bro, you these years later, you still use that for reference?" I mean, I was not that good of an artist back then. And he was like, it's still it's like I was a kid and you bestowed something onto me that you didn't have to for free." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, that fair enough. You want to pay for it now?" You got a
I'll give
job?
$10 for that. $1 for a year you've had it.
$1 for a year you've had it. That would be like what, $10, $7? I don't know. I didn't
It was
ask
$10
how
at
old he
the
was.
time.
That would have been a lot weird. Mm.
Who are you?
So we are now at. Oh, we lost Jonathan. We lost him. Oh no.
Crabs,
Hold on.
go!
Crabs. We don't know what happened. Let's see. Can I get him back? Is the question.
Didn't he say his phone was dying?
But did it die though?
It might
Oh
have. I
God,
saw him grab his
it might
computer.
have
I don't know if he
died.
grabbed his charger. We
Oh,
can give it a
we'll
couple
could
minutes. And
yeah, we'll give it a couple minutes. We'll keep talking. So Frank, how was your day?
I'm tired as fuck, and I want to go play games before I gotta go to bed and redo all the shit over again.
But it's an exciting day. Why would you want to go to bed?
I just got off work 2 hours ago, dickbag. Not even 2 hours.
I'm not a dick bag.
Sometimes.
Hey, I have my moments.
No, I'm
I
doing
have my
good,
moments
man.
where I am a dick bag, and then I have my moments where
I'm less of
I
one.
am. Yes, yes.
But no, I told you I'd be here, man. I just didn't know because when you said 8 o'clock, I thought you meant 8 o'clock my time.
Oh
Why did
yeah.
I open this one when I have this? Oh,
I don't know,
I
dude.
quit.
You
No, I
quit.
have five more in here, and I just fucking opened this one and took one out.
What is it? Are those Zens?
Fuck no, they're Velos. Zins are trash. I have three Zins up my ass. I'm ready to go.
He said he's trying to get back in.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I wasn't gonna miss fucking talking to someone I used to watch as a kid all the time. That sounds weird in my head.
Oh man,
Literally.
he's for those for
He's
those
a super
listening right
nice man.
now. He is so nice. He's such a good person. He just texted me. He said he's having some technical difficulties. He's trying to get back in. He will be back in any moment now, so we could do because we're already at 1 hour and 26 minutes. I think we're good for the foreseeable future. Uh, but what is one thing, Mr. Frank, that you are most excited about for this episode?
Huh?
You're not even listening, you dick.
Not the last part.
Yeah, I said, what was one of the very big things you were excited for
Oh, you
this
mean a voice
episode?
actor that I've looked up to since I was a kid?
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, guys, I'm actually having a bunch of technical difficulties with my camera. Am I showing up on camera, or is it black?
You're frozen.
Oh, I'm frozen. So, for the
You're
rest of
stuck
this
like
episode, guys, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Turn off my camera and turn it back on, and nothing's working.
but no,
Riverside has a bunch of kinks it needs to work out. It
here's something I
does.
was gonna mention earlier. When I met Tom Kenny, I don't know if I did I tell you about that time when I was in Oklahoma?
No, tell us about it.
So I was I went up and I wrote a contract for Tom Kenny, but it was to work at the Chum Bucket.
Oh my God.
And I was gonna have him sign it for the autograph, but I didn't have the money for it. And I was gonna walk up and I was gonna hand it to him and go, "Hey there, SpongeBob, I got a paper for you. If you sign it, go, you now work for the Chum Bucket.
That's
Now
freaking
tell me
awesome.
now tell me this, what's the Krabby Patty formula, SpongeBob?"
I don't think Tom Kenny would give out the recipe for said Krabby Patty formula because it's like
It's made with
very
love.
top secret. It is not made with love. It's made with crabs. That's why crab is the only one you see. Like Mr. Krabs is the only one you see in Bikini Bottom because he killed all the rest of them. Lifetime supply of Krabby Patty formula.
Krabby Patty formula, eh?
Yargit, yargit, margin.
Eh,
All right. I'm going to attempt something real quick, guys, that everyone that's listening, I'm going to cut off my Wi-Fi. Because because I feel like that's what's making the camera kind of be iffy right now. If it cuts me out, Mr. Carl is still here, so do not worry. All right,
I'm very
we're
afraid.
we're good now. We're good. The Wi-Fi is staying stable,
When
and
the
my
moon
shit.
hits your eye and you hiss at the sky, you're a possum.
What the fuck? So we're currently waiting on Mr. Jonathan to get back in. This would be a great time to announce our sponsors. Thank you, W Energy, for sponsoring our podcast, sponsoring my Twitch channel. Thank you overall. Use code MeltyTalks25. That is MeltyTalks25 at checkout to get 10% off whatever you're getting for your energy needs. If you are a gym rat or you're just needing someone to have energy throughout the day, check out W Energy. They are leading an amazing pre-workouts, energy drinks, and they have tumblers on sale right now. And if you're an ambassador of said W Energy, they are giving a free tub of mystery pre-workout. So go to wenergy.com, apply to be an ambassador.
Mystery.
Mystery. They are supporting a lot of streamers slash podcasters slash
Ah.
influencers, man. I go check out W Energy today. Like I said, use Melty Talks 25 to get 10% off your order. Uh, I will be doing a YouTube video next week. I will be doing some openings of some card packs for Yu-Gi-Oh slash Pokemon. It's gonna be a new series where we try to make profit off of said cards. It's a collecting thing. I've been doing it for years. Today, like I'm having some camera issues, guys. I'm frozen with my tongue out. We
Sorry,
got him
sorry,
back.
sorry, sorry.
Nah,
It
it's
sucks.
okay, man. We understand technical difficulties. We've been holding it until you got back. It's all right.
I'll
Uh,
be
Doesn't
holding you
work.
down.
Real quick, I was talking about some cards I've drawn today. So me and my son, we got some Pokemon cards. It was a
Nice.
I don't the box isn't nowhere near me. It was a 151 Scarlet and Violet poster box or whatever. We pulled a one of a kind War Turtle, uh,
Nice.
worth $200. So we made back our profit on that, and my son got to keep the rest of them. Uh, and like I told him, I was like, look, we'll look through them all. Daddy will take out the ones that look valuable because I know how cards work. And
Mhm.
you can have the rest. So I took out those. Uh, War Turtle, which I thought wouldn't be worth much until I graded it, or I went online and looked up at $200 for that card. So
Nice.
I'm selling it on my eBay for 120. So,
Mhm.
uh, and all the money that gets bought for those cards gets to my
Back
son.
in. That's fantastic.
Yes,
How fun.
that's his money, not my money.
Mhm.
Uh, so we have Jonathan back, and we are now at an hour and 30. We're gonna talk just about 5 minutes more, then we'll get to Melty's final thought. Mr. Marik, you went to NostalgiaCon this weekend.
Yes.
How was the people? How was getting back with all your old coworkers? How did it feel?
Uh, it's great. I mean, so it's I I I can't say I've ever been. I don't do a ton of these. I do probably like 5 to 6 a year, if
Hmm.
that. And I've never had an experience where I've been like, that city fucking sucks. Um, like there's never been a case where I'm like, wow, everyone here is a dick. Everyone's always very nice. I think it says a lot about the larger anime con community. Uh, I think it seems like a very everyone just seems very nice and nice with each other and respectful. with each other more than anything, and I just think that's really nice. And I've never been to a con where I felt, oh shit, that wasn't the case. Um, uh, the we meaning like the larger Yu-Gi-Oh crew. Um,
Hmm.
we did like a really fun. It was about like 3 years ago. We did like a what at the time was like the biggest reunion in ever. I think there were like 8 of us in Connecticut a few years ago, and like that weekend was so fun. And as it's been such a conventions have been expanding, and there people have been excited to see us all when we come out in force. NostalgiaCon last year started. Um, bringing us all out on a number of the events together. Uh,
Yes.
they beat that previous number for how many Yu-Gi-Oh folks they had. I think when we got together in San Antonio last year, it was about 15 of us. We did it again in Denver about a month ago, and then we did it this weekend in Anaheim. And then we're all doing it again in New Orleans in November. Um,
So you did tell me that you will be doing a con in New Orleans.
yes,
So I'm close to New Orleans, about a couple hours away. Like I said, I'm in Louisiana, got a little small town called DeQuincy. I will be at that
fantastic.
New Orleans con, and I don't have anything Merrick for you to sign, but I will feature you on my TikTok.
Fantastic.
You can
And
take Blue
please,
Eyes.
the what?
He could
Yeah, the
take Blue
virtual
Eyes and
blue
have it
eyes, right.
actually signed.
Yeah, I can actually have it actually
um
signed.
uh yeah, I'm very I love New Orleans is one of my favorite cities. um I share that love with my wife, and we have friends that used to live there, and we used to visit them all the time. I'm so excited to go. And it has been really fun. I you know I'm an only child, and so like anytime I'm somewhere by myself, that's nice too. I like just being in a city exploring, or just like hanging out in my hotel room and getting some quiet time with love my family, but it's nice for 24 hours to be by myself. 48
Yes.
hours like as the days stretch on, I'm like, this sucks, I want to go home. But like that first 24 hours, very nice, get a good night's sleep.
It's very good.
It's every once in it's nice, it keeps you fresh then when you go back. um,
Yes.
but what's been really fun about some of these events where they're bringing out a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh people is it's really fun as like a social event to like see the old gang. Everyone's obviously in a very different stage of their lives, but it's really fun, and it's really fun. It's a really good group of people. I'm not trying to call out any other show or anything like that. Probably most shows are very nice, but like it's not
Hmm.
it's there's never anyone or any group of people that I'm like, oh, these guys. Like it's always really nice to see everyone. And then when we are in a large group, it's so much more likely that I get to actually go see the city.
Hmm.
So I'm really, there's never enough time when we do these cons to like really explore, but I'm so pumped to get back to New Orleans. And, you know, at my advanced age, uh, my idea of partying is not what it was when I went to New Orleans in my youth. But I am like, oh, I have to be careful to not have more than maybe 3 drinks because I have to work tomorrow. It's like that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Probably I'm gonna call it a two. But I'm very excited to like go to Nostalgia Con. I'm very excited to see you in real life. That's what's been very fun about doing the TikTok videos for myself. Is it is increased the number of people I've interacted with online that then I get to meet at a convention, and I I I think probably that doesn't happen so often that
Hmm.
you interact with people online and then one day you meet them. And it gets to happen to me every time I go away now. And it's really a fun, weird experience, and I like it very much. Uh, so looking forward to meeting you, meet to some of your local listeners as well. But that'll be,
Yes,
I think that'll be a fun show.
because I have when I tell you I've told everyone I have mass sent the screenshots of our messages because when you agreed, I sent it to everyone. I was like, "Oh my god, this is
Oh,
happening!"
I didn't
And then
believe
when
him at
you came,
first.
wait, what'd you say, Frank?
I didn't believe you at first, Tanner. I was like, no way. And then I saw the video and I was like, holy shit.
uh, I think it's funny, especially because like I don't think of myself in that way, but like it is funny when like people don't believe that I am Marik. Um, I think especially when I first started doing cons and I was blowing out my voice a little bit more, and like it would be like when I did New York Comic Con. That like on the fourth, the first day of the con, you're like Shadow Realm, and people are like, "Oh, it's you," and by the fourth day, you're like Shadow Realm, and they're like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Oh, man.
You're like, "No, I really can I really can do it."
It's just I'm
If
having a bad day.
you saw me yesterday, you would have believed me much more easily.
And I'm trying to think about because we're gonna have to close out the show here soon because we're at an hour and 41. I don't want to go too much longer
It,
because Mr. Frank here wants the game, and I'm pretty sure you want to, you know, lay lay with
I,
the wife.
I'm getting to work after this.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
we don't want to hold you for too much longer. So I
I don't
have
do
two
auditions,
things.
Tanner.
Oh my god. I have two things before we do Melty's final thought. The first thing I'm gonna ask is um for right now, and then we'll save the second thing for the last little bit of the show. For my mom's sake, for you, can you in Merrick's voice thank my mom for keeping me on the Yu-Gi-Oh train?
Tanner's mom, allow me to say that I know it's no easy feat to keep your child entertained and busy and off the mean streets. But by keeping him involved in Yu Gi Oh!, you have done him a lifelong service. And for that, I will be eternally grateful.
That is awesome. Okay, see, mom,
Oh
I
my
told
Happy
you.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
Send money to him, not to me.
Day.
He
Okay,
could, you could, we
God.
could all use an extra couple bucks these
Yeah.
days.
I
that is
have
very
one thing,
true.
Tanner.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, Jonathan, do you have any advice for people that are wanting to try to get into the voice acting profession?
Yes. So, look, it's a tricky time, and there are a lot of unknowns, but I don't think it changes the shape of what it means to be a voice actor. Uh, and that is, I think, probably and I don't. This is I don't mean this as I went to acting school, and when people tell you certain things, it always sounds like a challenge, where it's like, if you're gonna make it, you need to do this, and it's like, and you're no one hears that, and they're like, oh, that sounds hard. I'm not gonna do it. You're always like, I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna be the one who's gonna do it. Nothing's gonna break me down. And uh, I, the world of acting and voiceovers are included in that. Like it's not like that. To me, Marik was a really good example because while I was on the show, especially back then, uh, uh, the dollar went a lot further. Uh, I was a young man without a family, and I was doing like I don't know, like 6 or 7 hours on a TV show every week, and it was incredible. Even though it was not this was many years, it was I was able to sustain a life and like go out and like pay for things I wanted. And then um in the middle of Battle City, uh all the characters go into another dimension and leaving leaving Marik behind. And regardless of what you think of how that was on the show, in my life, it fucking sucked because I was 24 and I had a great job and then all of doing hours and hours of recording a week, and all of a sudden I didn't. And the truth is, it is really rare and very hard, um, as an actor of any kind, to say these great days will last forever. And so, like, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I think what it means is that you have to love it enough to know those days are going to come, to be prepared for things to be great, to be prepared for things to be not great, to be prepared for literally constant rejection. Um, you know, it. I'm so wildly lucky to sustain myself on audiobooks, but even for me, my wife yells at me for this. Like, you never find out, how many audiobooks you're doing more than 2 months out, really. Like, I don't. So I'm always worried about the third month, and my wife's always calming me down, and it stinks. But this is like that is very much what the actor's life is in whatever slice of it you're interested in. It is, and so it's not stable, and in this world, very little is. Um, so if you are going to do it, be bold, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to like learn from people. I know an early mistake I know I made in my life is feeling a little threatened by people who were better than me, when I should have been eager to be around people better than me in a more substantial way. Uh, there's always someone's always going to be your nemesis out there. You might as well get to know them and be friends instead. um and so, and all of that is on top of whatever skill and talent you bring to it. All of those elements and the understanding that you have to love it enough not to like, oh, I'm never going to give up, but like what that means to me is you have to love it enough that like sometimes you're going to suck, and you might have to make certain sacrifices, and if you do not want to make those sacrifices, there is nothing wrong with that. I frankly don't really consider myself an actor anymore in quite the same way. My wife used to be an actor. It's how we met. And she gave that up. And like, there's also bravery in being like, this worked for now, and now I'm not fulfilled by it. And maybe one day I will be again. Like, life is long. And, you should absolutely go for it. Learn, get better, work at it. Uh, don't be afraid to email places and be like, don't be afraid to make a demo. Don't be afraid to email someone and say, can you listen to my demo? Be really wary of people who are trying to get money from you, um, because you're someone with hopes and dreams. Like, you don't always have to, sometimes there are things you might want to pay for to help your career. And sometimes you might want to say to yourself, this is a scam. Like, no one has all the answers. Trust, I know I'm throwing a million things at you right now. uh I'm just trying to
Trust me,
upload as
he's soaking everything in.
great.
He's
I
soaking
just,
everything.
the uh you need a good attitude and a thick skin, and you need to be professional. Like, show up on time. I am my wife will tell you I am late for everything in my life except work. No, that's not true. I always try to get there exactly on time in my life. Um, also, I don't know if I know I was late tonight, so I don't know, but that's a different thing. That was a very
No, you
specific
were you
reason.
were
We had
you were
stuff
on
going on.
time. You were a little
No, no,
early.
but because we moved the time. But okay. But then if you're going to be late for something, you call and you say, "I'm so sorry, this was unavoidable." Um, it's just it's a hard job. It's a really rewarding job. It is uh, it's and don't never do anything for glamour either. Whatever glamour you think exists, in like, it's really not there. Um, there's, you know, it's a long way until you get to be so famous where you get to go into one of those rooms and be like, oh, like on The Sopranos, where it's like, oh, I'll take that Rolex, I'll take, sure, thank like the VIP room. That doesn't, honestly, like we go to these Comic Cons and like we're all in the same green room having the same like Nutribar. Like it's not like you want to do it because you love it and it's fun and like you're on board with the ups and downs and knowing that they're probably going to be way more downs.
Yeah,
Um
I've been rejected a lot,
yeah,
so
and
I
like
know what
and
that's like.
and you see,
and it,
that's what's crazy is because like Frank up there, he
mm,
is a damn good voice artist. Like, and that's not to say it because I'm biased that he's my friend. Like, his voices and what he does is the reason why we became friends in the first place.
mhm.
He does all these voices, and granted, sometimes we talk about some suggestive stuff, and it's kind of iffy. It's 18 and plus material, but there'd be times we'd be playing a game and I couldn't focus on the game because I'd be laughing so hard
Mhm.
by what this guy comes up with. Sister list or something. Sister
Mister Lister
Lister
the Sister Fister and Lister Sister the Fister Resister.
that. Uh,
A good
one
vocal
of
warm
the.
up.
I
It's a
was drunk
warm
when
up,
I
yeah,
first said it, so
and he deserves in the same amount of voice actor clarity as anyone else, because he is a very good voice actor. And he asked me before the show. He was like, "Hey, would you mind if I kind of talked a little bit about voice acting?" I was like, "Bro, I don't care. Go at it."
and that's when I like to ask because I didn't want it to be like, oh, well, I do this too. I can do it. Because when we have you,
You
you're
know,
the guest of honor.
there's also a very slim difference. Like that's the thing. Like everyone's just one paid job away from being a professional.
Hmm.
I don't to even to diminish anything you've done, but like uh, uh mm, that first job on Ultraman that I got, like I said, like I went to
I
bed a
love
voice
Ultraman.
act like a professional voice actor that night. Where like pretty much led to like everything good in my life. Just because it like sometimes you finally get a job and it validates you in other people's eyes. It should never, you
Mhm.
don't want to let it validate you for yourself, but like you get a job and you're like, oh shit, I guess I can do this. And other people will think that. And that's what happened. Like I got commercial voiceover agent out of it. I got audiobooks off of just because like people are like, oh, can show up and can sit in front of a microphone.
Hmm.
Um, and I meant it what I said before about like sometimes you audition for something and they could choose 1 out of 30 and the 29 people who got a tough phone call that day would have been perfectly fine, maybe even would have been better, and like that's not your fault. When I was doing commercial voiceover around the same time as Yu-Gi-Oh, um, like you would sign in for an audition and like half the people in the room with you would be like on Saturday Night Live and The Daily Show. Like, and now, there aren't in-person auditions, especially for voiceover in the same way. I don't do it anymore, but I know this to be the case where like you're emailing over your record. But like you're still competing with those people and like that's what sucks is like I have to imagine that for every like every one of those jobs I went on with people from The Daily Show or Saturday Night Live, those were the people who got the job. And that's why and probably for them, they were like, well, I got this job, but like, oh man, I can't wait to get to that next level. And that's why, like, you try not to get competitive. You try to have a good attitude about getting rejected. And then one day it's your turn. One day someone's like, like, Joe, we can't afford a Daily Show guy. Um, like they're going to ask
But
for
we
too
can
much money,
afford this guy.
right? Or like, oh, we don't need the Daily Show guy for this, like, you know, radio spy. And like, then that day is your day. And then the next time it makes it much easier. So like, you just want to take everything in stride. Um, and be good to people. That's all.
Yeah. And that's my thing. I always congratulate the people. Like if I'm auditioning with a bunch of people and
Mm-hmm.
I like, oh, sorry, you didn't get this, we gave it to them. Cool. I will congratulate that person because that person, I tried. That's the thing. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought like I'm just proud of myself for actually trying it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I
I,
don't, you miss every shot you don't take. Kind of
yeah,
one of
and I
those
Thank
think
you.
things.
that is without a doubt the attitude to have. Um, we I think certainly, like we celebrate competition in our culture, and I don't think that's inherently wrong. But like sometimes we overstep like the dickish parts of Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we overstate him, like the moments where like he wasn't very nice, to be like, that's what it takes to win, instead of being like, oh man, that dude was the first person in the gym and the last person to leave. Like,
Yep.
that's the thing that we might want to focus on.
Yeah, I'm
And
focused on
see,
getting a better
like
setup before I continue.
Yeah.
with Mr. Goatman here, so I told you about my podcast, right? It's called Melty Talks, and you said you'll be talking to Melty with Melty Talks. Carl knows the story. I'm not trying to make it all about me because I'm not that type of guy, but Melty is my own creation. I created him in 2023. Uh, he was supposed to be initially Zombie Spit, but I then created a backstory for him. There was a guy, and I'm just going to sum it up. I'm not, because if I had a dollar every time someone asked me who is Melty, I would be
You
a
have
millionaire.
$2.
No, fuck you. So basically, Melty was supposed to be a cleaning absorbent, supposed to be able to clean up anything and everything with no mess, no cleanup, no nothing. Uh, Lightning struck the place that it was being manufactured. The guy that created the product, like the schematics and all, had it all poured on him, and it blended with his DNA. He popped out eyes, has no nose, and just rotten teeth. That is who Melty is. If he consumes something, let's say he goes to a park bench and he devours it, the bench is no longer there, and now he can cosplay as a park bench.
Hmm.
He's a shapeshifter or whatever. And my biggest dream for Melty, and like I'm not trying to make it all about me. Yeah, as you know, some people want to say my podcast is about. Anyways, shots fired. Bam, bam.
You said it one time. Oh,
So my biggest dream for Melty is not only to have fun with this podcast and get it out there, because I love podcasting. You can ask my wife. I love talking. That's just me. But I want to have Melty as an anime in Japan. Never shuts up, my wife says. I didn't know you were in the kitchen. Okay. So my biggest dream is to have Melty as a anime in Japan, and everyone's like, "Well, who would be the voice actor for Melty?" Like, because obviously Melty talks or whatever. Quote unquote Melty talks. And I told Goatman, I was like, I want you to voice Melty because he's such a good voice actor. And me, I'm kind of selfish with my IP. Like, he has to sound a certain way. Like, you can't just come to me like, I'm Melty. I'm Melty. No, 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 you can't just do it.
I'm the
Melty
giant
has a
blob.
something like that. Yeah. He has a specific voice in my head, and I can only trust one person with that, and that's the goat man up there.
You didn't
And
say my name, Carl.
Carl. All right, so we are at officially 2 hours. 2 hours. So we're gonna go ahead and
We did
end
it.
it, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna end this podcast. Like I said, you remember how I said a few minutes ago? I need you to do me two things.
Yeah.
If I announce the first thing,
Now
okay.
it's time for the second.
Yeah, it's
Let's
time
do
for
it.
the second. So we're gonna do Melty's final thought, okay? And that's everyone. We give our final thoughts on the podcast today. But Melty has a slogan. Why eat when you can devour? After we do our final thought, can you please say it as Merrick?
Why eat when you can devour? That's a
Yes,
good
that.
philosophy too.
Okay. So let's do Melty's final thought. We'll start out with our amazing guest, Mr. Jonathan. What is your Melty's final thought?
So it's about what do I think about like
Anything.
uh
If you want to give advice to people listening or just general advice for the public.
um fuck. Um uh uh but I don't waste time being angry at other people. Like stay calm, stay positive, uh try to see the good in people, try to see the good in yourself. Um and ask for help if you're in a tough time.
That is beautiful. That I think that's like the first of season 2 of Melty's final thought that we've had something so sincere. Other times it's just like, hey, believe in
I want to be really
yourself.
good friends with this guy now.
I'm again, as I've aged, I'm, for
You've
better or
grown
worse, more and more
wiser.
myself.
Yes.
Angry
All
makes
right,
me
Frank.
tired.
Frank, what is your Melty's final thought?
Uh,
You've had time to
oh,
think, motherfucker.
I started drooling. No, it was awesome to be able to talk to you and meet you as someone who grew up on Yu-Gi-Oh, watching Yu-Gi-Oh, Gargoyles, Sonic, and all that. Yu-Gi-Oh was one of my top ones. So it
Nice.
was really nice to be able to sit here, talk to you, and kind of hear your story of how you got into it, the background of the work that you have done for it, and kind of what you've been up to. And I may end up taking that 12-hour drive to New Orleans in November.
That is a long drive.
Yeah, I live in
We will do
Kansas,
it
man.
together, Frank.
You live closer.
How far is New
9 hours just to
Orleans
get
from
to your
us?
house.
3? Oh, 3 hours. Not bad.
Yeah, it's 9 hours just to get to your house.
All right. My Melty's final thought is always believe in yourself and stop thinking that you're nothing in this life. It is June, right? June. We're in June. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
Mental Awareness Month. If you're sad, if you're angry, if you have any issues with yourself and you think that, oh, suicide is the right answer, it is not. Call someone, call your friends, call your mom, call your dad. If you ain't have any of that, call me. I will give you advice. I will talk to you. Always remember that life is beautiful no matter what you do. Look at a flower outside, look at the sun, look at the sky, look at the nighttime sky. Nothing is as bad as you think it is. If you have a dream, go chase it. Obviously, I did something that I've always wanted to do. I'm literally talking to Marik Ishtar right now. I took a limb out. Was like, hey, here's my olive tree. Will you grab it? And we're here. And it all starts with jumping off the edge and hope that you get to where you need to be. Never count yourself short. Love yourself, be yourself, call somebody. That's my Melty's final thought. All right. So before we end out the
All right.
podcast,
It was a
hold on.
lovely talk.
Before you say it, I want to thank you, Jonathan, so much for being part of the show,
Well, thank
being
you for inviting
here.
me. Thank you
Oh,
for asking me to hold your tree.
We're gonna buy him a little olive sprout now.
Right.
we're gonna bond a little olive sprout.
We're gonna
Yes.
bring it.
Thank you, Jonathan, so much. We are big
That's
fans
my
of you
pleasure.
and everything that you do. I hope everything that you do moving forward brings you upper and upper and upper. Marik from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody. Jonathan Todd Ross. Thank you, Frank, for being part of the show too as well. Always comes in clutch when I need him. Love you, bro.
I told him
Uh,
I'm gonna be here no matter what. I'll do it at work. I don't care. I'll call him sick for
so
it.
with all that being said, Melty, take it away.
Why eat when you can devour?
Thank you for listening to Melty Talks, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you guys.